Welcome to Day of Security in the Red Team session, and thank you. So first I'm going to present myself. My name is Gabrielle Botbol. I am a Parisian woman living in Montreal, and I work as an offensive security consultant at Desjardins. I am also a blogger and a podcaster. I am the Vice President Communications at NorthSec Conference and a volunteer at Women of Security. And I was recently honored for my career and contribution to the cyber community by being named one of the top 20 women in cyber in Canada. Before talking about how I became a pentester, I would like to share with you some things about myself. I do not have a scientific background because after high school, I studied dramatic arts to become an actress. So I was also a receptionist in the luxury hotel industry in Paris. And after going back to school to study computer science, I became passionate about cybersecurity and I fell in love with pentests. And I found my true self because of cybersecurity at 35 years old. And it's fine because now I'm happy. So to realize my project of becoming a pentester, I relied on an education science concept by Philippe Carré, which is called Apprenance. You can see the definition on the screen. And my project involved 6 steps, such as e-learning, CTF, learning expeditions, internship, conferences, and volunteering. And in order to document my approach, I created a blog to share my experience. And I also built an analytic grid of skills resulting from this whole project. And I achieved my goal by being hired as a pen tester in Canada, but my desire to learn remains as strong as ever. When you look up the definition of hacker, unless you go to specialized websites, the general definition is pejorative. So you will find terms like snoop, for example, and there will be the notion of illegality. But basically, a hacker is someone who hijacks the use of a tool to do something else, and someone who is mostly curious about how a system works. And as you might know, there are different types of hacker. We have white hat, gray hat, and black hat hacker. But here we are going to talk about white hat hacker, who are also known as ethical hacker. So what is pentest? Well, it is when you attempt to break into a system to check its safety, and you aim to find vulnerabilities so that they can be patched. And there are different types of pentest, and I'm going to present some of them now. So external pentest is when we are going to try to break into the target system from the outside of the network. And there are different methods for doing this. For example, we can try to find out if an administration interface of the target company's system is available from the internet. So for example, the employees of company X must use an application to take their holidays. And if the login page of this application is available online, it could be hacked and this will expose sensitive data. So our job as pen tester will be to try to connect to this application, and this will give us a first access to our customers' network. So there's vulnerability assessment. So we will use an automatic scanner to scan our customer IP address, and we will then analyze the findings. We have internal pen test. This is when you attempt to break into a system from within the customer network. So for instance, once you are at the customer location, you will connect with an Ethernet cable and you will try to become a network administrator, and the network administrator has all the access on the system. So it's like you would manage to steal the personal data of all the people working in the company in a way, because you get access to everything. There are Wi-Fi tests. So we are going to check if the Wi-Fi is secure, is it easy to connect, and we will check that the Wi-Fi password is strong enough, are the technologies used reliable, and indeed some technologies are deprecated because they were discovered as vulnerable. So a secure Wi-Fi also will avoid that a cyber criminal can look legitimate in a network like any other person connected to the network. So we also have social engineering, like phishing attack. So some companies offer phishing campaigns, and we will do what an attacker would do, and we'll be able to find how many people read the email and how many clicked on the link. And as a result, the company will have data to be able to make a better awareness policy. So we also have physical intrusion. So we're trying to break into a building, and we can either make scenario to manipulate people to let us break in, or we can break in at night, for example. And so we will have objectives to achieve, and those objectives are usually specific locations to go to. And if you want an example, I made an article on my blog. I'm going to share the link with you on the chat. And it's called Codename 2300. It's about one experience I had of a physical pen test. So there you go. Okay, and then we have denial of service. So there are different attacks that can lead to denial of service. A denial of service happens when too many people try to access an application at the same time, and then this application becomes unavailable. So we will test them to evaluate the resistance of the system to denial of service. And so we have also red team, and the objective of the red team will be mainly to check the ability of a company to detect attacks rather than focusing on finding vulnerabilities. And we have we can test applications, so for example, web applications. So we are going to try to access sensitive data to become an administrator, and we are going to do so. We are going to use the most common black hat attacks. So for example, we can use Sql Injection, which is an attack that will allow us to get information from the database. And the database contains all the information needed to run an application. But I will explain this a little more in depth right after. So now that we have seen different types of pen test, I'm going to explain the steps of a pen test. There are different phases, like we don't go straight to the attack phase. We need to plan it with the customer before. We have to define the scope, and to take care of the legal matters. And so this is called the planning phase. And then we have to gather information about the target and how does it work, what are the technology used, and everything. So this is the discovery phase. And after we can attack it, we have to take lots of notes in the process because those are the proof we are going to gather. And this is going to be the attack phase. And finally, we will produce a report with explanations on how to reproduce the flow and how to correct it. So to go deeper, I can share with you what my typical day as a pen tester would look like. So what you do first is to open your mailbox and send an email to the customer whose you are testing the system. And sometimes you have calls to prepare a new project. And once every 2 weeks, you have meeting with the team to talk about your projects and how to be more efficient in your work. And most of the time, you just test and write reports. So you learn something new every day because every day you see different technologies. And so I wanted to make a list of things that I like, and I didn't like, but there are not a lot of things that I don't like. So I'm just going to mention things I like, which are learning from my peers, and getting to discover new technology and try things. So if you're interested in pentest and you want to know which skills are necessary, I'm going to present some of them. So you have to be curious. You need to question everything. You need to be creative. Like if something does not work, try to come with a creative solution. You have to be persistent and try again. You have to be very organized, and you need to love learning and sharing. Like share your knowledge with people and also ask them about what they are good at, because you always gain a lot by communicating with others. This is what makes you better in your own work. And something that was really helpful for me when I wanted to go in pentest and then when I was looking for an opportunity, this is my blog, because it's a real portfolio of who I am and what I do and what I know. And employers actually love to see who you are, and a blog is perfect for this. So you don't have to do a blog, obviously, but you can, for instance, you can write articles on LinkedIn about things you do or things you like, or you can share CTF write-ups or explain a concept you are passionate about. It can take many different forms. You can make videos, for instance. But what is good is also to go in the wild, to meet people from the community, to get involved in the community, like to go to conferences like we are doing right now, and talk to speakers, to other attendees, create an association with your friends, etc. So now we are going to dive into practice with the example of web pen testing. So as you know, web pen test is a type of pen test. So most of the business have a website, and even people have websites. So those websites can be a nest of vulnerabilities. So in order to keep people safe, you can help them by testing their website. And in this example, I'm going to explain some web vulnerabilities and present some tools and talk about what I have seen in real context. So as you probably know, OWASP is a non-profit foundation that aims to improve the security of web applications. They have a top 10 of the most found vulnerabilities that you can see on the screen. And we will talk later in details about the first one, specifically Sql injections and directory traversal, and the seventh one, cross-site scripting. And I chose to demonstrate those because they are very visual. So for the demo, I used Mutilide that I installed via Metasploitable 2. You can also install Mutilide alone on a web server if you prefer, but this is a vulnerable app, so you have to be careful with this. And also, before I show you the demo, it's very important that you are aware that you must always have the authorization of the owner of the website to test a system, or it's illegal. So the machines that are used in the demo are made for this purpose, so please remember this. So in the video demo, I will show you the vulnerabilities and tools displayed on the screen. But first, I want to provide some explanations on those so that you can completely grasp the concepts in the video and what you will see. So first, I'm going to start with cross-site scripting. So cross-site scripting is based on JavaScript, which is a high-level programming language. And it's one of the core web technologies along with HTML and CSS. And many libraries and frameworks are derived from JavaScript, like, for example, jQuery or Angular. Cross-site scripting, which is also known as XSS, is a security vulnerability that you typically find in web application. So it's a type of injection that will allow an attacker to execute malicious script and have it execute on a victim's machine. So with XSS, you can try to steal the admin cookie, get complete control over a browser, exploit a vulnerable plugin, or perform keylogging, which would mean that you are able to record every input made on a keyboard. There are three main types of XSS. You have stored XSS, so this is when you are able to store your XSS payload in the database of the target. So this way, the payload will be working for every user who would access the page where it's stored. So for instance, if you have a page on a web forum and you are able to leave a message so that it will be stored on the database for others to see. So if your payload is interpreted, it will be stored in the database as well, obviously. And we have also reflected XSS. So this is when the vulnerability only works on the client side. So the attacker will need to trick a victim into clicking a URL to execute the payload. And you have DOM-based XSS, which is a document object model that is DOM. This is what is DOM. It's a programming interface for HTML and XML documents. So it represents the page so that programs can change the document structure, style, and content. So a DOM-based XSS will happen when the web application writes data to the document object model without properly sanitizing the input. So now we are going to talk about Sql Injection. So Sql Injection is based on SQL database language, and it is used to create a database, modify it, or just request it. And it uses different statements depending on the purpose. So the most common statements are select, insert, update, and delete. And all of those images on the screen are vendors that provide their own relational database management system. So you might have heard of some of them. Like one of the most famous is MySQL. And so SQL injection happens when an application uses a user-controlled input to create SQL queries without properly validating the input first. So a successful SQL injection attack can read or modify sensitive data from the database. And so you would be able to execute administration operations on the database, such as maybe just shutting it down. And in some cases, you can issue commands on the operating system. So we have three types of SQL injection. So you have inbound SQL injection. So this is when the data extracted with the injection is presented directly in the application web page. So error-based SQL injection will belong to this type. We have blind SQL injection. So this is when an attacker is able to reconstruct the database structure by sending payloads and observing the web application's response and the resulting behavior of the database server. So Boolean-based and time-based SQL injection would belong to blind SQL injection. And finally, you have out-of-band, which is the least common type of SQL injection. And this is when an attacker is unable to use the same channel to launch the attack and gather results. So they would use techniques that would rely on the database server's ability to make DNS or HTTP requests to get the data from the database. So now we are going to see directory traversal. So directory traversal is a vulnerability that allows an attacker to read arbitrary files on the server that is running an application. So it happens when application place user input into file paths. So with this attack, you are able to get application code and data and credentials for backend systems and sensitive operating system files. So in some cases, an attacker might be able to write arbitrary files on the server And so this would allow them to modify the application data or behavior and take control on the server, for instance, which is the ultimate goal of directory traversal attack. And depending on the operating system behind, the payload will be different, as well as the files you will query for. And the most famous payload is the one you see on the screen, and this is a payload that is used for Linux operating system. So now about the tools. So we have proxy tools that are OWASP, ZAP, and Burp Suite, for instance. So main objective would be to intercept, analyze, or modify queries. So OWASP ZAP is open source and Burp Suite is proprietary. There is a free community version, and you can also pay for a pro version, which has more features. And as we navigate through the target application with our proxy, it will detect potentially vulnerable elements, and we will be able to analyze them and validate if they are indeed vulnerable or not. Also, we have fuzzers, so like DERB. So the tool used to send a series of payloads, or it will help us to brute force administration pages, for instance. So it can be done also with Burp Intruder. And also with Burp Intruder, you can try different cross-site scripting payloads on an injection point, for example. So this is what we call fuzzing. We can also try to brute force an authentication form. And with DERB, you can list the directories or the pages of a website with a predefined list of words. So let's go for the demo. So I'm just checking that you can see my video. Okay, perfect. It seems to work. Okay. So this is Mutilide, as I presented before. And as you can see, you have lots of things that you can try. And first, we are going to try cross-site scripting, stored cross-site scripting. So as you can see, we can have our input shown for everyone to see. So we have to try something. And so I'm going here to try one of the most famous payload, which is going to basically trigger an alert and show something you write. Like, for instance, here I'm just going to write stored XSS. And there you go. You can see that our input worked and that our payload worked and that the input is vulnerable. So what we can do now for you to see is to see the code of the web page. So as you can see, the comment does not appear because it's been interpreted. But if I go to the page source, so I'm just looking for my payload, and here I see that you can see that our script has been interpreted as if it were like written and the purpose of the developer who wrote the code. So now Sql injection. So I'm going to try to bypass authentication with this one. And I'm also going to use a very famous Sql injection payload, which is a quote or 1=1 --. The -- is a command sign, so it will, if it works, it will comment the rest of the query. And so it will not be interpreted. And as you can see, it worked because I'm now logged in as an admin. Now we have directory traversal. So it's also called directory browsing, and so this is, we are going to find it as directory browsing here. And so, as you can see, we have a page here, an input. So you are taking, you can try to put anything here to go up and see which files you can browse from the server. And so we are going to try the /etc/passwd that you saw. This file is actually going to disclose information about the users. So you are going to be able to know the usernames of the OS system. So now about Burp Suite. So we are going to put our intercept on, and we are going to go to the home page. And it's interpreting our request to the server. So we can see that it's requested for the home, and that you are logged in as admin, and you have a PHP session ID. So you can basically analyze everything that goes from your browser to the web server. So now we are going to see derb, which is a fuzzer I mentioned before. And we are going to use the list called common.txt. And every time you see a 200 code, it means that the page is available. So for instance, you have the index page, which is not sensitive, so it's okay to have it. But you also have the PHP myadmin page here. And this is going to be a place where developers are able to manage features of the application and everything. So it shouldn't be here. So you should not be able to access it. Okay. And what I would recommend is to explore Kali Linux. Kali Linux is an operating system based on Linux that is made for Pentester and for Pentest. So you have a lot of tools that are pre-installed, and I will really recommend that you have a look at them if you want to get familiar with Pentest. So there you go. Oops. Can I present this? Sorry. And it was good. Yeah. Okay, so what about real life? So what I saw in real context, so I have seen a lot of cross-site scriptings. Like once I had to test this website that was globally very well implemented, but there was this feature of file upload, and it was designed to be able to download HTML files. So I built an empty file, and I added an XSS payload, the one that I showed, just the one that I showed earlier, and that was it. My alert was triggered, and so I could report that it was vulnerable to cross-site scripting. I also saw some SQL injection, like for example, once the tool we usually use to dump the database was not able to find the injection, so I could not dump the database automatically. So we found a SQL function that could show the last request that was made to the database, and so this was a Boolean-based SQL injection. So we had to check every char one by one to find the request. So we made a script that ran all night, and we got part of the request, but it was like thousands of chars long, so it would have taken days to have the full request. Okay, and now it's time to have some fun with a Kahoot quiz and see if you are able to remember some of the things I showed to you. So I'm going to paste, just go to kahoot.it. Okay, so you have on your screen, you will have a pin. Oops. I'm sorry, I'm going to put this in English. It's by default in French for me. Okay, so you can type the pin that you see on the screen. Do you see it? So I'm going to type it for you here. It's going to be easier. Okay, we already have some people here. So I'm going to wait a few minutes for you to join. We have, I don't know how many you are. Oh, we have like 43 people. So I'm going to wait a little. Okay, so I'm going to launch it. So, solving web security with pen testing. So, first question, what is Burp Suite? Is it a proxy, a word list, a VPN, or a cool movie about web pen testing? Congratulations, it's a proxy. So congratulations for you who wrote proxy. And on the top we have Karen. So congratulations, Karen. Next question. Which of these payloads can be used for cross-site scripting? Is it print I am an XSS payload, or 1 equals 1, script alert 1 script, or Boolean XSS equals true? Neat, congratulations everyone. So the proper answer was script alert 1. And so Karen is still on the top, and we have Tid on the second. So congratulations everyone. Which Linux distribution is specifically made for pen testing? So this one was actually showed in the video, if you remember it. So is it Ubuntu, Linux Mint, Linux Puppy, or Kali Linux? All these are actual Linux distribution. Yay, congratulations. And people are on fire here today. So next question. True or false? If an application is vulnerable to directory traversal, you will always be able to access /etc/passwd. Is it true or is it false? And it's false. So, okay, someone kicked out Tid of the second place. Oh, cool, congratulations. And congratulations, Karen, for still being on the top. Next question. How many different main types of XSS are there? Are there 10, 3, 4, or 2? And the answer is 3. Okay, so congratulations, Karen. Oh, cool. Next question. I am able to extract data by generating a mirror with Sql injection. So which type of Sql injection is this? Is this in-band, out-of-band, blind, or inner rock band? So it's in bed. Congratulations to those who found the answer. Okay, so Oku got first, and then we have Joe, and then Karen. So next question. The first vulnerability of OWASP Top 10 is cross-site scripting, XML external entities, broken authentication, or injection. Okay, this was on a slide. The answer of this. And it's injection. So congratulations for those who found the answer. And Tid is getting up, and Opal is on the first place. So next question. Phases of pentest in order are discovering, planning, attacking, reporting, planning, discovering, attacking, reporting, attacking, discovering, planning, reporting, or reporting, discovering, planning, and attacking. So you have to remember which one is first and everything. And congratulations. Almost everyone got it. Next question. Congratulations, Opal, for still being first. So next question. Which of these is not a pentest type? Wi-Fi, internal, external, or blue team? So there is one, all of them are a pentest type, but one of them is not. Which one is it? And it's blue team. Congratulations. So Joe got first. So it's it's completely unexpected today. Next and final question, true or false? Only men can hack. Is it true or is it false? I hope everyone gets it. No, who did say true? Okay. Okay, so the podium. Congratulations, Tid, you are on the third place. Okul, you are on the second place, and our winner is Joe. Congratulations, Joe. Okay, thank you everyone for participating in this Kahoot quiz, and thank you and good job, everyone. So I'm going to quit this and I'm going to go back to my slides. So I'm now going to share some resources with you. So this is the OWASP pages of the vulnerabilities I talked about. So I'm going to paste them for you in the chat so that you can have a look. And also some nice resources if you want to get into pentest. When you want to learn pentest, it's very important to practice. So you can find a lot of very interesting resources online or by creating a lab to practice. So for instance, you can start practicing with TryHackMe. It is very good if you have no prior experience. And when you feel comfortable enough, you can switch to Hack the Box. And I also made an article on how to get started with pen testing, and there are also here links on that have resources. So there you go. I hope it works. Okay, the first link is not working. I'm going to check this right after. And I'm going to take questions now if you have questions for me. I guess I can see in the chat if you would have questions. Yeah. Okay, so the first link is not working. Oops. Okay, it's because Okay, this one should work. Okay, so how did I transition into cyber? So I did. So first, I was a developer, and that's as I said, I did not feel very comfortable of the application I was delivering. I wanted to know if they were safe, so that's why I got interested in security. And the transition I made was to train myself to become a pen tester. So I did not use, I made my own training. So I can share with you my blog. The objective was to, you actually have my blog. I shared it just earlier. And I explained everything I did to become a pen tester. And so it was like, I don't remember the word in English. It was a challenge I did to myself to become a pen tester. So here's my blog. And I hope the other links work. Let me know if links does not work. No, I did not participate in Hack the Box Battlegrounds. To find teams, honestly, I wouldn't know. But, you can always try to find teams when you go, teammates when you go to events or things. Well, I do have a CTF team, and I found them by just going to events, so, and talk to them and everything. Okay. So thank you, everyone. I think it's time, but if you have other questions or if you want to connect, you have my info here on the screen. So feel free to reach me on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I'm always happy to talk to people, and I'm always happy to meet people. So please, free to ask me any question you might have there. Thank you very much, and it was nice to see you. So many people in my presentation.